Hello, good morning. Today let's introduce ourselves. We are students of the Centro Universitario UAM Atlacomulco of the degree of Computer Engineering. This time we will develop a topic for the learning unit research methodologies. The theme of the exhibition we will talk about is critical thinking, and the word theme is composed of José Antonio Pliego Gómez and Lucero Fernández Evangelista. This paper is composed by the following schedule. As point number 1, we will see how is the human thinking. 2, what is critical thinking. 3 is what is a critical thinker. 4, the elements of critical thinking. 5, the egocentric thinking. 6, the conclusions, and finally in 7, the reference. How is human thinking? Passing the first point of our schedule, the human being thinking by naturally is usually arbitrary, distorted, biased, uninformed, and prejudiced. However, the quality of life we have and the thing we do or both depends entirely of the quality of thinking we have. This is where critical thinking can help us. Let's see why. What is critical thinking? But then, what is critical thinking? Are the process, strategies, and mental representations that people use to solve problems, make decisions, and learn new concepts. Some experts in areas such as history, philosophy, or cultural study have identified some important aspects of critical thinking, such as judgment, skepticism, originality, sensitive readings, rationality, content to knowledge, and self-reflection. This bring us to the next point, that is, what is a critical thinker? When we develop this skill, we can be said to become a critical thinker who is generally inquisitive, always well-informed, reliable, open-minded, fair-minded, honest, and unbiased, willing to reconsider various ISOs, diligent and searching for relevant information, reasonable, and the selection of critical, always focused and persistent in research. Becoming a critical thinker brings with it good results. Becoming able to formulate vital problems and questions with clarity and precision, accumulating and evaluating relevant information and other abstract ideas to interpret that information effectively, being able to arrive at conclusions and solutions by testing them against relevant criteria and standards, thinking with an open mind, with alternative systems of thought, recognizing and evaluating as necessary opposing implication and practical consequence. And finally, devising solutions to complex problems, being able to communicate effectively. In the next point, some intellectual virtues that we can archive as a consequence of being a critical thinker are in intellectual autonomy, intellectual integrity, intellectual humility, impartiality, intellectual perseverance, confidence in a reason, and intellectual empathy. Now, critical thinking allows us to have objective thoughts, leaving aside egocentric thinking and always waiting to be right, as we will see later on. That's it. Now that we know about the advantage and virtue of being a critical thinker, you may be wondering how to become one. For this, I will give the floor to my colleague Jose Antonio, who will explain how one can analyze the information we have or that we want to investigate through the elements of critical thinking that will help us to practice and not fall into prejudice.
Elements of critical thinking. Elements of critical thinking. Critical thinking is composed of the elements that can be seen in the image below. Concepts, which are the theories, definitions, actions, laws, principles, models that we have. The assumptions, which are the suppositions or what is accepted as given. Implications and consequences. The points of view, frames of reference, perspective, and orientation. The purpose of the term, which integral or objective. The question ad insinue, which would the problem or insinuate to be addressed. The information, which is the data, facts, observation, and experience. The interpretation and reference, what are the conclusion or possible solutions. This should be used with an awareness of the universal intellectual standards of clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, and depth. The elements of critical thinking are based on reasoning because it always has a purpose. It tries to solve a problem, solve a question, or explain something. It is based on assumptions which are made from a perspective. Our reasoning is based on data, information, and evidence, and is expressed to brain concepts and ideas that are the ones that shape it. It contains inference or interpretations from which conclusions are reached that finally have implication or consequence. To be more precise in the investigation or in the information that is being analyzed, we can use some questions that use each element already mentioned. For example, the purposive response to the question I try to achieve, what is my central goal or what is my purpose? The information is supported by the question. What information am I using to reach this conclusion? What experiences have I had to support this statement? And or what information do I need to solve in this question? For inference and conclusion, we must ask ourselves how we arrived at these conclusions or if there is another way to interpret this information. For analyzing concepts, we must ask ourselves what the central ideas and whether I can explain this idea. For assumption, we must ask ourselves what I am assuming or what assumption led me to this conclusion. for implication or consequences, I must ask myself if someone were to accept my position, what would to be implication or what an I imply. For points of view I must ask myself from what point of view I am approaching the USC, or if there will be another point of view I should consider. Finally, for question I must analyze what question I am asking and what question I am answering. Egocentric thinking. Now that we have analyzed what critical thinking is and how we can put into practice, it is important to know the main factor that can prevent us from developing it, and this is egocentric thinking, which we have been naturally because we generally don't now usually consider the rights and needs of others, nor do we usually appreciate a point of view and difference from us because we live confident that we know how things are and we believe we are objectives. We rely completely on our intuition even if they are something wrong. Finally, I would like to give the floor again to my colleague Lucero to give some conclusion on the subject.
Finally, to conclude, we can say that critical thinking is self-directed, self-disciplined, self-regulated, and self-corrected. It involves effective communication and problem-solving skill and competence to overcome the natural self-centeredness and socio-centeredness of human beings. It makes people gain more knowledge and their critical level of decision making more accurate. This ability to think critical makes researchers more curious and interested in their professional pursuits and makes the production and results of search more and more precise and directed towards solving global problems. Critical thinking must be developed because, as we saw in the presentation, our thinking by natural is usually selfing and not objective at all. Practicing this thinking will develop several skills such as objectivity, good communication, skill ability to accept ideas different from ours, and above all the ability to know and accept when we are grown. Now it is convenient to follow the strategies that we addressed in the presentation. However, over time, it will be something that we will do easily. We will be more analytical and excellent researchers. I would like to end this conclusion with a phrase to reflect on from the thinker Christopher Hitchens, which to the letter say, the essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks. To conclude the presentation, these are the references that we are used to elaborate this presentation, and without do further ado, we thank you for your time, and we hope that this information is very useful and that you can put in to practice. And thank you very much.